First Contact's Aftermath. The holographic display in Admiral Sarah Chen's office cast an eerie blue glow across her face as she studied the message for the 100th time. The Galactic Concordats' invitation to join their peaceful federation of species seemed perfect, too perfect. After 30 years of leading Earth's space defense force, she'd learned that if something appeared flawless, you weren't looking hard enough. "Director Walsh is here, Admiral," her AI assistant announced. Chen straightened in her chair as James Walsh, head of the newly formed Xenological Intelligence Division, entered. His typically composed demeanor was notably absent. "You've seen the latest findings." Walsh didn't wait for pleasantries. He placed a quantum data crystal on her desk, and new projections sprang to life alongside the Concordats' message. "Show me," Chen commanded, her expression hardening. The holographic display shifted to show a series of worlds, each marked as home to an intelligent species that had achieved faster-than-light travel. Each had been contacted by the Concordat. Each had accepted membership in their federation, and each had, within 50 years of joining, experienced a mysterious evolutionary collapse. "The pattern is undeniable," Walsh explained, his voice tight. The Scatheri, brilliant engineers who developed crystal computing, gone within 43 years of joining. The Meridians, masters of biological engineering, vanished after 38 years. The pattern repeats across 17 species. Chen studied the data, her cybernetic eye whirring as it processed the information, and they're calling this natural selection. That's their official stance. They claim some species simply can't adapt to galactic civilization. Walsh's laugh was bitter. But our deep space probes tell a different story. We've detected massive energy signatures at each of these worlds, right before their civilizations collapsed. Something's being extracted. The Admiral rose, walking to the window that overlooked Earth's first major orbital shipyard. Below, construction drones swarmed around the framework of humanity's newest vessels, ships they'd built using their own innovation, not the generous gifts of technology the Concordat had offered. "What makes us different?" she asked, though she suspected the answer. "We're the only species that didn't immediately accept their offer," Walsh replied. "The only ones who asked to consider their proposal while continuing our own development. And we're certainly the only ones who maintained a clandestine military program, despite their peaceful overtures." Chen nodded slowly. Humanity's paranoia. Their inability to fully trust after centuries of their own conflicts might prove to be their salvation. While the Concordat believed they were evaluating their generous offer, Earth had been preparing for the worst. "Their ambassador arrives tomorrow," Chen said, turning back to Walsh. "They're expecting our answer. And they're expecting gratitude, submission, and awe at their advanced civilization." Walsh's smile was sharp. "They don't know we've cracked their transmission codes, that we've documented their lies, that we've already made contact with the survivors of their previous evolutionary collapses hiding in the void between systems." Chen's artificial hand clenched, the advanced alloy catching the starlight. "Then perhaps it's time we show them something they've never seen before, a species that says no." "It's risky," Walsh cautioned. "Our analysts suggest they've never faced rejection. Their response could be extreme." "Good." Chen's smile matched Walsh's. "Because humanity has something else they've never faced, a prey that's been quietly becoming a predator. Send word to the resistance cells we've contacted among the survivor species. Tell them to be ready. The Concordat is about to learn they're not the only ones who can keep secrets." As Walsh left her office, Chen returned to the window. In the shipyard below, the newest vessel's quantum shields shimmed into visibility for a system check. Its name, painted in bold letters across the hull, seemed to glow with promise. Humanity's DFI ANC. The next day, when the Concordat's representatives arrived in their crystalline ships, expecting to find a grateful primitive species eager to join their federation, they would instead encounter something unprecedented. A civilization that had prepared for war while speaking of peace, that had built allies while pretending isolation, and that had learned from humanity's long history of resisting those who came bearing gifts and promises too good to be true. They would find humanity ready. The hidden truth. Dr. Maya Rodriguez moved silently through the abandoned Meridian Research Facility, her adaptive camouflage suit blending perfectly with the crystalline architecture. Behind her, a small sphere of nanites mapped every inch of the facility, creating a perfect three-dimensional model that transmitted back to Earth via quantum entanglement. Security systems still active. Captain Riza Patel's voice whispered through her neural link. Somewhere above, he and his team maintained overwatch, their stealth ship hovering in high orbit. Negative, Maya replied, her augmented vision scanning the empty halls. They didn't just abandon this place. They sanitized it, but they missed something. She approached a wall that appeared blank to normal vision, but blazed with complex patterns to her enhanced senses. They didn't know what to look for. The Meridians had been biological savants, capable of encoding vast amounts of data into living tissue. While the Concordat had stripped the facility of all obvious technology, they'd overlooked the very walls themselves, grown from engineered organisms that stored information in their cellular structure. Maya pressed her hand against the wall, nanoprobes extending from her fingertips. The wall's biological matrix recognized the contact, responding to signals that mimicked Meridian biochemistry. Patterns of bioluminescence rippled outward, and data began flowing into her neural interface. "Oh my God," she breathed. "What is it?" Patel demanded. Confirmation. The Meridians knew what was coming. They left this for someone to find. Maya's voice shook as she processed the information. The Concordat, they're not a federation. They're farmers. The data unfurled in her mind. Detailed records of how the Concordat selected species for membership, cultivated them along specific technological or biological paths, and then harvested the results. The Meridians' mastery of bioengineering hadn't been random evolution. It had been carefully guided through subtle manipulation of their scientific development. Each species is pushed to perfect different aspects of technology or biology, Maya explained as she downloaded the data. The Scytheri and quantum computing, the Meridians and biological engineering. Once a species reaches peak development in their assigned field, they're harvested, Patel finished grimly. Their entire civilization stripped down and absorbed into the Concordat's collective knowledge. Not just knowledge. Maya's hands trembled as she accessed deeper files. They take everything. The physical brains of the most advanced members. Entire population centers converted to biological processing nodes. They don't just steal technology. They consume entire species to fuel their own evolution. Above, Patel's ship detected a surge of energy at the edge of the system. "We've got company." Concordat patrol vessel on long-range sensors. "Time to go." Maya started to pull away, but the biological database pulsed with one final transmission. Her eyes widened. "Captain, the Meridians, they weren't just leaving a warning. They left us a weapon. Explain on the way up. That patrol ship will detect us in 3 minutes." Maya's hands flew over the wall, extracting the last crucial data packets. The Meridians discovered how the Concordat's biological absorption process works. They developed a counter-agent, a way to turn the harvesting process back on itself. They couldn't implement it in time, but the research, it's all here. 2 minutes, Patel warned. Uploaded. Maya stepped back, watching as her nanites began breaking down the biological computer, ensuring no trace remained. "Captain, if this works, we won't just be able to resist the Concordat. We could free every species they've absorbed. Their entire collective could collapse." The stealth ship's gravity beam activated, pulling Maya rapidly upward through a series of precisely calculated sensor blind spots. As she materialized in the ship's hold, Patel was already accelerating out of orbit, their quantum drive spinning up. "Admiral Chen needs to see this immediately," Maya said, her neural interface already composing the encrypted transmission. The Concordat isn't just coming to assimilate Earth. They're coming to harvest what they see as their latest crop. But this time, she smiled as the ship slipped into quantum space, vanishing before the patrol vessel could detect them. This time, the crop is going to bite back. In her office on Earth, Admiral Chen received Maya's transmission just as the Concordat's ambassador was being escorted to the governmental complex for humanity's official response to their membership offer. She allowed herself a small smile as she read the data. The Concordat thought they were meeting with naive prey. Instead, they were walking into a trap centuries in the making, one built not just by humanity, but by every species that had come before. Project Aurora. The underground facility beneath the Marianas Trench hummed with activity. 3 kilometers below the ocean floor, behind layers of quantum shielding and dimensional barriers, humanity had built something impossible, a synthesis of technologies that should never have existed together. Commander Kai Zhang stood at the center of Project Aurora's control room, watching as holographic displays showed the final integration tests. Around him, scientists and engineers from a dozen nations worked in perfect synchronization, their neural interfaces linking them into a collective consciousness that rivaled the Concordat's own network. Sktheri crystal computing matrix is stable, Dr. Yuki Tanaka reported, her fingers dancing through the holographic interface. Meridian bioprocessors accepting quantum data flow. Sir, we've done it. We've actually done it. Kai nodded, his cybernetic eyes tracking multiple data streams simultaneously. Where the Concordat had kept their harvested species technologies separate, humanity had dared to combine them. The crystal computers of the Sktheri, processing data through structures that bordered on consciousness. The Meridian's biological engineering, creating living circuits that could adapt and evolve. Even fragments of technology from other failed species, each contributing their unique innovations to create something entirely new. Status report from the surface, his AI assistant announced. The Concordat delegation has begun their final inspection of our primitive defense systems. A smile touched Kai's lips. Above them, the Concordat's representatives were touring a carefully constructed facade. Obsolete fusion reactors, basic shield generators, and weapons that would have impressed humanity a century ago. All while the real heart of Earth's defense grid lay hidden beneath the waves. Dr. Rodriguez's counter-agent integration is at 97%, Yuki continued. The delivery system. She was interrupted by a priority alert. On the main screen, a message flashed from Admiral Chen. Concordat Fleet DT-TED. Multiple emergency points. T-A-Y-R-E-N-O-T waiting Ethor our NSOyer. Kai's expression hardened. They must have detected something. Ready or not, we're out of time. He opened a channel to all Project Aurora facilities worldwide. This is Commander Zhang. Operation Daybreak is now active. I repeat, Daybreak is active. Throughout the facility, warning lights shifted from blue to red. The massive reactor cores, combining multiple species power generation methods, began to pulse with energy that defied conventional physics. In similar bases hidden across the globe, identical systems spun up to full power. Sir, one of the technicians called out, we're detecting quantum scanning beams from the Concordat fleet. Their ships are taking up attack positions. Right on schedule, Kai replied calmly. They think they're about to harvest another primitive species. Let's show them how primitive we aren't. He turned to Yuki. Doctor, initiate the Aurora Protocol. Yuki's hands flew across her console. Around the world, hidden transmitters activated, broadcasting on frequencies the Concordat thought impossible for humanity to access. The signal reached out to the void between stars, where the remnants of harvested species had hidden for centuries. It reached into the very networks of the Concordat ships themselves, carrying Dr. Rodriguez's counter-agent into their biological components. Above the Earth, the Concordat fleet's formation was perfect, their weapons primed to disable what they believed to be humanity's basic planetary defenses. They never expected those defenses to be decoys. They never expected the real weapons to come from below. The ocean began to glow as Project Aurora reached full power. Quantum energy merged with biological processes in ways that violated what the Concordat thought were universal laws. The crystal computing matrices, enhanced by human innovation, began solving problems that should have taken centuries in mere seconds. Multiple targets locked, the tactical officer announced. Counter-agent ready for deployment. Sir, the Concordat ships, they're beginning to realize something's wrong. On the strategic display, the enemy fleet's perfect formation began to waver. Their scans had finally penetrated deep enough to detect the true scale of humanity's preparations, but it was already too late. The Concordat believes in evolution, Kai said quietly, in the strong consuming the weak to become stronger. Let's show them what happens when the weak decide to evolve on their own terms. He took a deep breath. All facilities, all units, Aurora Protocol is now active. Let's give them a harvest they'll never forget. The oceans of Earth began to shine like newborn stars as humanity revealed their true strength. The war for galactic freedom was about to begin, and for the first time in their long history, the Concordat was about to face something they had never planned for, a prey species that had turned their own weapons against them. And deep in the void between stars, the survivors of a dozen harvested species began to move, drawn to the signal that promised what they had waited centuries for: revenge. The battle begins. The Concordat flagship, Eternal Ascendance, shuddered as its biological components began to rebel. Supreme Director Vex Thor, their crystalline form pulsing with alarmed colors, watched in disbelief as system after system reported impossible failures. Around their ship, the rest of the Harvest Fleet was experiencing similar disruptions. Impossible, they whispered, multiple voice crystals resonating in discord. They are primitive. They are unprepared. They err. Fighting back, Admiral Chen's voice cut through their command network with perfect clarity. The human's image appeared on their bridge, transmitted through channels that should have been unhackable. You thought we were primitive because we showed you what you expected to see. Now let me show you what humanity really is. The oceans of Earth erupted, not with weapons or ships, but with light. Pure quantum energy, channeled through biological matrices and crystal computers, rippled outward in waves that defied conventional physics. The Concordat fleet's sensors, designed to detect and counter any known form of attack, were overwhelmed by something that shouldn't exist: the combined technologies of every species they had ever harvested, enhanced and evolved by human innovation. In his crystalline command chair, Vex Thor felt something they had never experienced in 10,000 years of directing harvests: fear. All ships initiate emergency harvest protocols. They commanded, release the collectors. From the belly of each Concordat vessel, massive biological constructs emerged, living machines designed to break down entire civilizations into their component parts, absorbing knowledge, technology, and consciousness into the Concordat's collective. They had never failed. They had never been resisted. They had never faced Project Aurora. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Commander Zhang watched the collectors deploy. They took the bait, he reported to Admiral Chen. Initiating Phase 2. The collectors descended toward Earth's atmosphere, their massive forms darkening the skies over every major population center. But as they approached their harvest zones, something changed. The counter-agent developed from Meridian Research wasn't just disrupting their systems, it was rewriting them. By the eternal void, Vex Thor breathed as their sensors showed the impossible. The collectors, their most perfect tools of absorption, were being transformed. The very biological programming that made them unstoppable was being turned back against its masters. Admiral Chen's voice carried a smile. You taught every species you harvested to focus on one type of technology, to stay isolated, to develop in predictable ways. But humans, we've spent our entire history taking different ideas and smashing them together to see what happens. And now we've done it with everything you left behind. The collectors, now fully converted by the counteragent, turned back toward the Concordat fleet. They were no longer tools of harvest, but weapons of liberation, carrying within them the combined knowledge of humanity and every species the Concordat had tried to erase. This is Admiral Sarah Chen to all resistance forces, her voice broadcasted on frequencies that reach deep into the void between stars. The Concordat's biological network is compromised. Their collectors are neutralized. Phase 2 is complete. All units commence Operation Salvation. From hidden quantum pockets throughout the solar system, Earth's true defense fleet emerged. Not the primitive ships the Concordat had been shown, but vessels that combined technologies in ways their builders had never imagined possible. Each ship carried weapons developed by hybrid science, Scatheri crystals merged with Meridian biotech, powered by human determination. But they weren't alone. From the darkness between stars, more ships appeared. The hidden survivors of past harvests, drawn by the signal they had waited generations to receive. Their vessels were old, their technologies those of civilizations long thought extinct, but they had been modified with the same hybrid innovations that humanity had perfected. "You took everything from us." A new voice joined the command channel. The leader of the Scatheri remnant, speaking for the first time since their civilization's fall. "You thought you could consume our knowledge while erasing our existence, but humans showed us how to fight back, how to combine our strengths, how to evolve beyond your control." Vexthor watched in mounting horror as their perfect harvest fleet was surrounded, not just by human ships, but by vessels crewed by the ghosts of a dozen supposedly extinct species. And behind them all, the converted collectors approached, ready to turn the Concordat's own absorption technology against them. "We gave you a chance to leave us in peace." Admiral Chen's voice was steel. "You chose war. Now let's show you what happens when humanity decides to rewrite the rules of evolution." The battle for Earth was about to begin, and for the first time in their ancient history, the Concordat was about to learn what it meant to be prey. A new dawn. The battle above Earth had become something unprecedented in galactic history. The Concordat's harvest fleet, once the most feared force in known space, found itself caught in a trap centuries in the making. Their own collectors, converted by human ingenuity and Meridian science, tore through their biological defenses like they were made of paper. Dr. Maya Rodriguez watched from the bridge of the humanities DFIANC as her counteragent did its work. "The Concordat ships are experiencing total biological failure," she reported, her neural interface processing streams of data. "Their entire network is collapsing." Supreme Director Vexthor's voice boomed across all channels, their crystalline form now pulsing with rage and desperation. "You cannot comprehend what you are destroying. We are the guardians of evolution, the shepherds of progress." "No." Admiral Chen's reply was calm, but carried the weight of centuries of human determination. "You're parasites who forgot that evolution works both ways. Sometimes the prey becomes the predator." The converted collectors reached the Concordat fleet, where once they had absorbed civilizations for their masters, now they began breaking down the very ships that had carried them. Crystal computers melted. Biological systems rebelled. The perfect harmony of the Concordat's collective consciousness shattered as the counteragent spread through their network. Commander Kai Jung's voice cut through the chaos. "Admiral, Project Aurora is detecting something from the Concordat ships. The absorbed consciousnesses of harvested species. They're breaking free." On every screen, in every neural feed, they watched as the impossible occurred. The Concordat hadn't just stolen technology from their victims. They had preserved the minds of billions, kept in a twisted digital slavery to process data and advance their evolution. Now those minds were awakening, breaking free of their chains, and turning on their captors. "This is why you failed," Admiral Chen transmitted to Vexthor's failing flagship. "You thought evolution was about the strong consuming the weak. But Earth's history taught us something different. Real strength comes from adaptation, cooperation, and learning from those who came before us. We didn't just survive our own wars. We learned from them. We didn't just study the species you erased. We gave them a voice, a purpose, a chance for revenge. The Liberation Fleet, human ships fighting alongside vessels crewed by the survivors of a dozen harvested civilizations, pressed their advantage. The Concordat's perfect formation had devolved into chaos as their own biological technology turned against them. Ships that had survived millennia of warfare began to break apart, their crystal cores shattering as the absorbed consciousnesses fought their way to freedom. In the Marianas facility, Yuki Tanaka's hands flew across her console. The quantum matrices are at critical mass. We can't contain the energy much longer. We don't need to, Kai replied, a fierce grin on his face. Route all power to the collector network. Let's finish this. Project Aurora reached full potential. The combined power of multiple species technology, enhanced by human innovation, surged through the converted collectors. The Concordat fleet, already crippled by the counter-agent and the rebellion of their stolen minds, faced the full fury of everything they had tried to harvest. Vexthor's final transmission was cut short as their flagship imploded, crushed by the very forces they had spent millennia trying to control. Around them, the Harvest fleet followed, their ships torn apart by weapons they had never imagined possible. In the silence that followed, Admiral Chen opened a channel to all ships, human and survivor alike. This is not just humanity's victory. This belongs to everyone who refused to be erased, to every species that kept hope alive in the darkness between stars. The Concordat believed in forcing evolution through consumption. We believe in something stronger, the power of working together, of combining our strengths, of refusing to submit. She paused, looking out at the debris field that had once been the most powerful force in the galaxy. They called themselves the Shepherds of Progress, but they forgot the most important lesson that humanity learned from our own history. True progress comes not from conquering others, but from lifting each other up, from taking our differences and forging them into strength. Across Earth's solar system, ships from a dozen fought-extinct species moved into formation alongside human vessels. The freed minds of countless absorbed civilizations began to download into waiting biological processors, ready to reclaim their existence. Project Aurora's energy signature stabilized, its hybrid technology now a beacon of what was possible when barriers were broken. The galaxy believed the Concordat was invincible, Maya said softly, watching the sensors track thousands of ships emerging from quantum space, more survivors, drawn by the signal of liberation. They forgot that even apex predators can be overthrown when their prey decides to evolve. Admiral Chen smiled as reports flooded in from across known space. The Concordat's network was collapsing everywhere as their stolen consciousness broke free. Their carefully maintained order was giving way to something new, something that combined the best of every species they had tried to harvest. Send word to Earth Command, she ordered. The Concordat has fallen. Operation Salvation is complete. And tell them. She watched as ships from extinct civilizations began coming together, their crews already talking about rebuilding, about combining their knowledge in new ways. Tell them that humanity would be honored to help our fellow survivors forge a new kind of galactic society, one built not on consumption and control, but on cooperation and growth. The stars seemed brighter somehow as the fleet began its return to Earth. The age of the Concordat was over. The age of true evolution, of species working together to become something greater than the sum of their parts, had begun. And it had started because humanity had done what they did best, looked at the impossible, smiled, and found a way to make it possible.